They were cruel people. They were never known for the quality of mercy. For the sake of money, they would even commit murder. English was considered the greatest of all education. He is giving every bit of description about the situation, about the town, about the people, about the time he lived. Hello, hi, namaste and welcome to Vidyashram, Temple of Excellence. I am Nanda Kishore, Faculty of English in Vidyashram, Mysuru. In my previous session, I had discussed about the chapter Around the Medicinal Creeper written by Purnachandra Tejasvi. In today's session, I will be discussing about the chapter Oru Manushan, which is written by Vaikom Muhammad Bashir. What is this chapter about? Why the chapter is named as Oru Manushan? What is the translation of Oru Manushan? This Oru Manushan chapter is basically written in Malayalam and later translated to English. And in English, the title was given as A Man. But in order to save the flavor of the originality, the chapter has been named as Oru Manushan. So let's start with today's session, Oru Manushan. Let us know about author Vaikom Muhammad Bashir. Who is Vaikom Muhammad Bashir and why is he so special? Vaikom Muhammad Bashir, short story writer and a novelist. He is known for his sympathetic portrayal of joys and sorrows. These two words, they play a key role, and I believe that you are going to enjoy every bit of this chapter. Recipient of the Central Sahitya Akademi Award and Padma Shri in 1982. Let us see what is the background of the chapter. This is not basically the background of the chapter. These are the words written by the author himself, and it just gives a brief introduction to the chapter. And these are the words by author himself. And he writes like this: you have no definite plans. Imagine you have no definite plans. You are wandering around far away from home. You have no money with you. You do not know the local language. You can speak English and Hindustani. Hindustani is nothing but Hindi. But very few people know either of these languages. This can land you in many predicaments, the problems, many predicaments, many adventures can befall you. Many adventures can follow you. So let us see, as the chapter goes on, let us see what are the problems that author faced and what are the adventures that the author underwent in this chapter. You find yourself caught in a dangerous situation. A total stranger rescues you. Even after a year pass by, you will sometimes remember the man and wonder why he did so. While the chapter begins, he is not giving any description in clear, but he wants to, or in order to grab hold of the attention of the readers, he is just giving a brief introduction, and he wants to write, these are the problems that you can land on if you don't know languages, local languages, and in reverse, or to your bad luck, if the local people cannot understand the language you are familiar with, then you will be definitely in soup. You will be fried on a pan. He says that I know English and I know Hindustani, but the problem is you don't know the local language, and English and Hindustani is understood a bit with the local language, with local people. And he says you have no money, you have no definite plans, and moreover you are far away from home. But in today's generation, in today's times, you don't have to face any problem if you are far away from home, because you are connected with so-called internet. It just gets everybody in touch with everybody around the world. Even if you are there in the north, you can get in touch with south, or east from west. Any part of the world, you can easily get connected. But those were the days you didn't know any language, or the vernacular language, or the local language. So what will the problems that you are going to face? An author says you have no money and no definite plans, you are far away from home. Keep this in mind. Today's generation, as I told you, it can just get you the money within a snap. Within a fraction of seconds, you type something and you send the money, and you will get, or he will get, the other person will get the money in his account within a minute. But what were the conditions during those days? This is very important. The reason why I'm explaining so much, because this explanation has got something to do more with this chapter. Let us see what is that. Let us say it is I. Now he comes to the point. Now he slowly just begins with the main point, and he says, so previous words or the previous lines is trying to get attention of the readers and is just warming up. And now he says, let us say it is I, the author, not you. He says, not you. Who remembers the man? Now he is saying, who remembers the man? But before he told, let us say that you have no money, you have no ideas, you have no definite plans, but all of a sudden he comes to I. He is talking about himself now, and he says, let us say it is I and not you who remembers the man. I am now narrating, he says, I am now narrating an experience which I had. So this is the author's own experience, and he had gone so horrible experience in his life, he might never forget till he his last breath. I have some vague notions about human beings. Vague notions. It's like, complicated notions, maybe some question marks in his mind. And he says, why is this human being so complicated? At times, the moment I think, it might have been your own experience as well. Being a reader, even you could feel it. You cannot have a definite and complete notion about anything, because the notions and the ideas and the concepts and your perception keeps changing as you move or meet new things or new people in your life. Human beings, including myself, he says, including myself, very particular, nobody would confess themselves that I am not so fixed. I keep changing as the time passes. There are around me good men and thieves. He says, good men and thieves. Those who suffer from various infectious diseases and from madness. One has to live carefully. The world has more evil than good. He says, the world has more evil than good. This is very important, and let us see why author has mentioned the world has more evil. This line has got something to do with his life a lot more than us. We realize this only after we get hurt. Why is he making this statement? He says, maybe we are hurt. Once we get hurt, obviously we think that the world has more evil than good. But what will be the experience of an author here? Will he just stick on to this line throughout his chapter? Let us see that later. In the beginning, he told that he is just talking about a man. He is just remembering him. And he says that I am going to narrate my own experience which I had in some other city. And what is this city? Where is this city? Which is the city? We don't know. Author has never mentioned about the city in his experience, in his writings. He just simply says that he lived in a village, or he lived in a town, and he talks about the township. He talks about the people who lived there. He talks about the cruelty or the horrible experience that he goes through in that town. So let us see what is this town, or which is this town. How are the people? So now we are talking about the city and the people. It was quite a big city. You need to be careful. Whatever I underline here will be asked for 1 mark question, or can be asked for 1 mark question in your final examination. It was quite a big city in the valley of a mountain, some 1,500 miles. How far is he living now? Some 1,500 miles from home. So he is 1,500 miles from home, the inhabitants of which had never been known for quality of mercy. He is directly saying that people of this city are never known, or were never known for the quality of mercy. They are so cruel. They were a cruel people. He says they were cruel people. They were never known for the quality of mercy. Murder, robbery, pickpocketing, these were daily occurrences. Murder, robbery, pickpocketing, these were daily occurrences. It used to be so common that those people or the people of that town were so used to it. Pickpocket, murder, oh, it's okay. It's just like sacrificing a sheep or a goat or a chicken, how it is happening in today's life. Can you just imagine living in that city amongst those people, trying to commit murder, trying to steal, and trying to pickpocket in everyday life? It is so horrible. Can you just imagine living in these conditions here? It is so horrible. And I'm sure nobody wishes to stay in this kind of town. But we don't know what town he is talking about. By tradition, now he goes back a bit and he says, by tradition, the people were professional soldiers. Who are they? They are professional soldiers. Can you just imagine? They are professional soldiers. By profession, they are soldiers. Some of them went to distant places and lent out money on interest. It is not just every inhabitant of that town lived in the same town. Few people, he says, few people, these are very important words, some of them, few people, these are very important. He says, it is not just all the people were cruel, equally cruel as these people who are committing murder, pickpocket and robbery every day. Few people were good enough. It is the perception of the reader. He is leaving it to the perception of the readers, and he says, some of them went distant places and lent out money on interest. But he is cleverly using these words, lent out interest. So who are this? They are just giving the money to the people and they are taking interest and living their lives easy. They are living their lives in an easy way. And what else does he represent? What else does he write about the people and the town? Many others served as watchmen in the banks. 1 mark question. Watchmen in the banks, mills and large commercial establishments in big cities. In big cities. He is not talking about the same people of the same town, but he is talking about the people who left the town, went out of the town, and what are they doing? What are the works or what are the profession they carried out? What did they do? They were watchmen in banks, mills and large commercial establishments in big cities. Money was highly valued by them. Money. Sabka baap. Money was highly valued by them. For money, they would do anything, even commit murder. So that was the intensity. That was the level of heights people respected. And they showed respect for money. For the sake of money, they would even commit murder. They never hesitated. If you just give them 100 or 200 or 300 rupees, that is more than enough for them. Forget about hundreds and 200s. There were people who lived just, they committed murder. They wanted to have a liquor bottle. Just for the sake of bottle, they have committed murder. Just for the sake of 100 rupees, they have committed murder. It happens. Even today, there are a lot of cases that we see on television. There are murders taking place. We get to see this on everyday or daily basis, or maybe occasionally we just get to see this for silly reasons. Now let us see what was author's profession. Now we know that author is staying away 1500 miles away from his home. And what did he do? But remember the previous description, just the background of this chapter. He says that you have no definite plans, you have no money with you. And why is he living then in this town? He has no money, he has no definite plans. He's just, while talking about himself, he says that I have no money, I have no definite plans. Then why the hell is he living in this town? So now let us see what profession he carried out. I stayed in that city in a very small, dingy room on a dirty street. 1 mark question. Where did the author stay? In that town, in a very small, dingy, dirty room on a dirty street. Very small, not so polished, not so well furnished, not so well equipped house or a room. It is very dingy, very congested room on a dirty street. Not a posh area, very dirty street. I carried on a profession. What profession did the author carry now? I carried on a profession there. What profession was it? Teaching English to some migrant laborers from 9:30 till 11 in the night. So it is not in the morning, from 9:30 9:30 p.m. to 11 p.m. It is not a.m., it is p.m. in the night. I taught them to write address in English. He taught English, but what was he teaching? Was it teaching alphabets, or was he teaching some poem, or was he teaching some novel? No. What was he doing? He was just teaching how to write address in English. Learning to write an address in English was considered great education there. You might just think it is so funny. How could the author write that learning to write address in English is so great education? It was considered great education there, and then, not now. Now we might just speak English fluently. Even the first standard kid or a kindergarten kid can speak better English than those professors or the teachers during those times. But remember, those days were so crucial, so important. English was considered the greatest of all education, and moreover, if you know how to write address in English, so that was considered greatest or the great education there. And then author's fate. What is this author's fate now? You must have seen people who write addresses at the post office. So why is he teaching migrant laborers, and who is he teaching to write address in English? He is teaching migrant laborers. During those days, if you want to communicate, if you want to have in touch with the family members, you need to write letter. These days, you sit in front of the computer, you turn on your computer, you turn on your camera. On the other end, there will be a person who is waiting to talk to you, and you can have a chit-chat, face-to-face communication. But during those days, you had to write letter. And if you know how to write in English, then you could earn money. Moreover, knowing to write address in English was considered great education. He says, you must have seen people who write addresses in post office. They were paid anything between 1 anna and 4 annas. What is this annas? Currency. Between 1 anna and 4 annas for writing an address. There were people who were exclusively kept or appointed to write addresses in English in the post office. I taught the skill of writing address to people in order to escape the same fate myself and to see if I could save some money. What is the same fate he is talking about? He says, same fate. What is the same fate? If you just go back and think for a moment, remember the people who committed murder, the people who robbed people, and the people who just pickpocketed just for the sake of money. And think about it, money was highly valued. So author was not in a position to do any of these, and in order to escape the fate of going hungry, or in order to escape the fate of falling a trap for doing all these miserable things, he just wanted to escape from it, and he thought of teaching English for the migrant laborers and how to write address in English, not just teaching, how to write address in English. And he says, in order to escape the same fate myself and to see if I could save some money. In those days, in those days, now he's talking about those days, not the present days. I would sleep all day and wake up at 4 in the evening. Remember, in previous I told 9:30 till 11 p.m. So how long was he teaching? He was approximately teaching one and a half hour, and that was between 9:30 p.m. p.m. till 11 p.m. And what time did he get up? He got up at 4 in the evening, and he slept till 4 o'clock in the evening. This was to save the expense of drinking my morning tea or eating the noon meal. Why was he sleeping all day? Not because he was too lazy, or not because he just wanted to lay around like a couch potato, or not just because he didn't have any other better job to do. It's because, think about the condition, all these words are giving you a clear picture about the difficulties that author underwent during those days and in that city. This was to save the expense of drinking my morning tea, just to save the expense of morning tea and eating the noon meal, afternoon meal. If he could just sleep till 4 o'clock and get up at 4 o'clock, he would have skipped his breakfast, he would have skipped his morning tea, he would have skipped his afternoon meal as well. In order to save the expenses, he slept till 4 o'clock in the evening. Now, we got to know that he gets up at 4 o'clock, and what will he do after 4 o'clock? What is the experience that he underwent in the restaurant? Let us see that. One day, I got up at 4 p.m. remember, as usual, and he says, one particular day, I got up at 4 p.m. as usual. I finished my daily chores and stepped out for my tea and a meal. This is the daily chores or the daily occurrences or the daily habit that the author has done. And he says, one day I got up at 4 p.m. and as usual, I stepped out of my house or room for a cup of tea and a meal. You must understand, he is clearly giving a description to the readers. He says how he was dressed or what was the attire he went to the restaurant. He says, you must understand that I was dressed in a suit. I was wearing an overcoat. I had a wallet in my coat pocket. He is wearing a coat now. And where did he keep this wallet? In his coat pocket. Though he is wearing trousers, though he is wearing this shirt, and upon that he is wearing a coat, and he did not bother keeping the wallet neither in his trousers nor in the shirt, but he kept his wallet in the coat pocket. So if you remember, suit will have two pockets on either of the sides. Maybe he has just kept, let us assume that he has kept in his coat pocket. And why is he mentioning this coat pocket? It is very important. I had 14 rupees in it, my life's savings at the time. So what was the amount that was kept in the wallet, which was kept in the coat pocket? It was 14 rupees. And that was his life savings. Can you just close your eyes and think about having 14 rupees in your pocket and thinking, okay, this is my life savings and I'm going to lead my life with these 14 rupees. You can't even buy a cup of tea if you go to or visit a 5-star hotel or restaurant with this 14 rupees. And think about those days. He says this 14 rupees was his life saving. So those were the days. Author is mentioning everything clearly here. He is giving every bit of description about the situation, about the town, about the people, about the time he lived. Now what happens next? He got up at 4 p.m. and he thought of having a meal and a cup of tea, and he just gives a description that he wore overcoat and he kept his wallet in his overcoat, and that wallet consisted of 14 rupees, which was his life savings. And what did he eat now after he went to the restaurant? I entered a crowded, very important, it was not so empty, he says, very crowded restaurant. I ate a full meal. He says, I ate a full meal consisting of chapatis, very important, 1 mark question. What did he eat? I ate a full meal consisting of chapatis and meat curry. He is writing full meal consisting of chapatis and meat curry. I drank tea as well. So what did the author eat? He ate full meal consisting of chapatis and meat, and author also says that he drank tea as well. The bill came up to 11 annas. What was the bill? 11 annas. It is just 11 annas. Now we got to know that he went to the restaurant at 4 p.m. after he got up. He went and ate full meal consisting of chapatis and meat curry. He also drank tea, and the bill came up to 11 annas. Keep this in mind, 11 annas, not rupees. Don't write 11 rupees. It was 11 annas. And next he says, missing wallet. Why have I named it as missing wallet? It is already giving you a clear idea that he has missed his wallet. But how did he miss his wallet? I put my hand in my coat pocket to pay it. He just puts his hand to the coat pocket to check whether he has got the wallet or in order to pay the bill. But I began sweating profusely, and almost digested in an instant all that I had eaten. He says, everything that I had eaten. What did he eat? Chapati, meat curry, tea, all of this. And he mentions that he ate full meals, not just half, full meals, and everything, every bit of it, whatever I ate was digested in a minute, within a fraction of a second. Why? Because he has lost his wallet. The reason was my wallet was not there. He says, the reason was that I am not able to find my wallet in my coat pocket, and my wallet had 14 rupees in it. My life savings. Forget about paying the bill now. It's about 11 annas. How would he live his life further in that town? 14 rupees is completely lost. His life savings. That is the reason he says life savings. Every word in this chapter is giving you all the information you want to have. You might be wondering, what will I buy with this 14 rupees in today's day? In today's generation, in today's life, you can't even buy a bun and a cup of tea for 14 rupees. He says that he lost all the money he had saved. I said, someone has picked my pocket and taken away my wallet. Now he's saying, someone has picked my pocket and they have taken away my wallet. Can you just imagine yourself being in this situation? Here is a task I'm going to give you. You don't have to answer it to anybody. You don't have to answer it to me. Answer it to yourself. Let me just ask you a question. If you are in this scenario, if you are stuck in the same situation the author is standing now, think about it. You might answer me, you might tell me, or you might answer it to yourself saying, it is not a big problem. I don't have a money. I have lost my wallet. It's okay. I have a cell phone. I can just ping my friends or call up my friends and ask them to forward the money or send the money so that I can do PhonePe or Google Pay, account transfer. Very easy. But let me just give you a challenge or a task. What would you do if you are stuck in the same situation as authors? Imagine you don't have cell phone, you are far away from home, you don't know the local language, and you are not aware about the people and their profession, and you happen to walk to the restaurant and consume all that you wanted. You are hungry, imagine, and you have eaten bellyful, and the bill has come up to around, let us say, 2000 rupees, and you don't even have a single penny in your pocket, and you have lost your wallet, you don't have cell phone, and you don't have anybody to help, you don't have anybody to call up and ask for the favor. What will you do? How will you convince the restaurant or the hotel owner? What are the things that comes to your mind? What are the ideas that will strike your mind? Will you just run away from the hotel, or will you just request the restaurant keeper, or will you just beg in the street, or what would you do? What are the ideas that will strike your mind? How would you escape this horrible situation? This is a task. Answer yourself, ask your friends, ask your family members, and get the interesting answers. So this is quite interesting. In this chapter, we don't know what will be the situation later with author. We don't know what author is going to do. Is he going to convince the restaurant owner, or is he just going to escape or run away from the restaurant without paying bill just because he has lost his wallet? In my next session, I am going to discuss about what the author Waikom Mohammad Bashir is going to do, and he has recorded his experience, his own experience in his own writings. Let us see what the author did in that restaurant. Did he convince the owner, and did the owner get convinced and let the author walk away, or did he just do something mean? Let us meet in the next session. That is it in today's session. In next session, I am going to discuss about much more interesting things that author Waikom Mohammad Bashir has recorded in his chapter. Thank you. Have a good day.